Modularization in static web development is the inclusion of code snippets into a web page using technology. A common implementation is to use a server-side solution such as PHP. However, if PHP or another server-side language is not available, JavaScript can be used. This video will demonstrate the use of jQuery, a JavaScript library, to implement modularizing common page code, such as a header, navigation, and footer, into a web page. There are basically two steps to complete from an HTML perspective. First, build the basic template from which web pages will be built, and second, build the modules, that is, code snippets representing the common content, to be included into the template or web pages built using the template. You will see that these steps have already been done. A template page with a simplified structure exists, and 3 modules representing the page header, navigation, and footer have been created. Please note that each of the module files are only snippets of code. This represents the content to be injected into the larger, more complete HTML page. This is an important concept. The modules represent small blocks of code. They are not standalone HTML pages. With the HTML ready, the JavaScript must be implemented for the solution to work. My first step is to go to jQuery.com and download the most recent version of the library. By clicking the Download jQuery button on the home page, I can select how to obtain the library. I will use the most recent minified jQuery.com CDN, also known as a Content Delivery Network, version. There are distinct advantages of using this approach, but which I will not go into during this video. Once the source and version are selected, copy the code and return to the template. At the bottom of the template, after the close of the footer, but before the closing body tag, paste the code from the jQuery site. You may want to clean up the pasted code, but it is not necessary. Save the template. Beneath the jQuery script, create a new script element and add a source attribute. Add a path to a modules.js file. The name is not important, but it should describe what the file will do. If you do not have a modules.js file, don't worry. Create the element and the source attribute anyway. We will create the file next. Save the template. Using an editor, create the modules.js file. The .js extension indicates that this is a JavaScript file. For now, I am placing all of these files in the same location. I will add folders and make adjustments after my initial testing. In the modules.js file, create an anonymous function as shown on the screen. Let me explain what's happening. Line 1 is a comment. The double forward slashes are a JavaScript comment indicator. Line 3 uses the $sign followed by a left parenthesis to create a jQuery object. This is commonly referred to as a document ready object because it will only operate once all of the HTML has been read by the browser and the DOM, also known as the document object model, has been built. The function keyword followed by parentheses and the left curly brace indicate that this is an unnamed or anonymous function to be run. Lines 4, 5, and 6 essentially do identical tasks. The $sign with the parentheses create a jQuery object using the HTML structure identified with an ID. On line 4, it's an ID of page header indicating the header on the page. This is the header element in the template and in any web page created from the template. Into that object is loaded the contents found in the header.html file, or in the other files listed on lines 5 and 6. Finally, on line 7, the right curly brace ends the anonymous function, the right parenthesis closes the jQuery document ready object, and the semicolon marks the end of the code. Make sure you save the file. With the modules and the template in place and the JavaScript also written, it's time to test. Run the template file in a browser. If things are correct, as soon as the browser builds the DOM from the HTML, the JavaScript is run and the code found in the modules is loaded into the respective elements within the browser. If we use the developer tools found in most modern web browsers, we can see the elements and the code that has been injected into the document as if it had been written statically. However, there is a potential problem with our solution. JavaScript, since it operates in the browser, can be turned off. If JavaScript were disabled, the modularization of the common elements would not work. Therefore, a plan B must be in place to allow users to get to our site content. As websites are built, it is good practice to build a site map. This is a page containing links to content pages within the site. An example of a sitemap can be seen on the w3.org site. As you can see, the Web Accessibility Initiative, also known as the WAI group, has built a site map with headings and links to pertinent information. With a sitemap built, in the navigation element of the template, a NoScript element can be added. If JavaScript is operational, the NoScript element will be replaced with the content from the navigation module. However, if JavaScript is disabled, the contents of the NoScript element will be shown instead and provide a link to the site map, where site visitors can then find the content they are looking for. Add the NoScript element with a link to the site map into the nav element of the template. At this point, it does not matter if you actually have the site map. We are interested only in having the text and link to the file appear if JavaScript is disabled. Save the file. I will disable JavaScript and reload the page. You can see that the modules failed to load, but the link and the supporting text found in the NoScript element appear. It is important to always take steps to provide a means for important content to be found if JavaScript is not operational. This is referred to as graceful degradation. Finally, I will add some organization to my files by placing the JavaScript file in a folder for scripts and the modules files into a folder for modules. Once done, I will adjust my paths to these files in the template and the modules.js file. Enabling JavaScript in my browser, I will now reload the page. Things should once again work, and the modularization of the common content should be operational. I hope this video has explained and demonstrated clearly the use of jQuery and HTML to implement modularizing of common content into a website.